Hi there, and welcome to another Team Clueless Battle Report. We're at Mark's today, and we're doing a special mission today. We're trying out the Asymmetrical Playtest mission number 1. Now, what I mean by that is, there's a group of tournament organisers. Mike Brandt, who runs the Nova Open, is kind of like helping organise it all, and they're trying to put together a set of missions for people to use at their tournaments, which are asymmetrical, meaning that both sides have different victory conditions, and at the start of the game you can kind of like tailor your victory conditions. So when you can see what army you're facing against and what army you're using, you can have different objectives during the game. So we're doing Playtest Mission 1. We're going to stick a link in the bottom of the video, if I remember, and it will take you there so you can have a read of the mission, but I'll just go through the movements of what it is to start with. So you can see our table here today, and there are 6 objectives on the table. We have one there, one there, one there, one there, one there, and one there. So the 4 are in table quarters there, and Mark and I each get to place one, but the way the mission's set up, you're reasonably restricted on where you can go, so you kind of have them in the centre of the table. Now, I have chosen to run the mission as standard, so I score the objectives just like normal. At the end of the game, if I control an objective, I get 3 victory points. Mark has chosen to go for the alternative mission during this game, which means that at the start of every one of his turns, other than his first turn, 6th turn and 7th turn, when it's written down it's quite easy. I'm maybe saying a lot of numbers here, but go with it. So not his first, 6th or 7th turn. If he controls an objective at the start of his turns, then he gains 1 VP for each objective he controls. So at the start of the 2nd turn, it's reasonably likely that Mark will control those 3 objectives. So he scores victory points at that point. So at the end of the game, I score them for controlling it, and he scores them at the start of each of his turns. Hope you're still with me. Now, there's a maximum you can score from this method. You can only ever get 9 VPs. So at the end of the game, I can only ever control 3 of the objectives, scoring 9, and Mark can only get 9 for controlling them at the start of his turn throughout the game. So the way it works after that is you go on to secondary objectives. So if it's a draw on primary objectives, you go on to the secondaries, and the secondaries are the 3 normal ones, and you get 2 points for completing each of those. So Line Breaker, Slay the Warlord, and First Blood. But there's another twist on those. You can choose to escalate one of the secondary objectives. So the way you escalate them is you have to mark down at the start of the game, and Mark and I, because we're playtesting, have agreed between us which ones we're going to use, and we're using different ones, are we?
I've gone for general. I went for HQ kills, didn't I?
Oh, we've both gone for the HQ kills then.
Which one's that off, actually? Is that off First Blood?
That is off of Slay the Warlord. So we'll go through them. So you get to escalate one of those, and the one you've escalated, you get to score a maximum of 4 points from. So you score 2 points for doing normal secondary objectives, and the one you've escalated, you can get 4 instead of the 2. Okay, still hopefully following me, and as I say, there will be a link in the video so you can go and check this out yourselves. So if you escalate the first one, so if you escalate First Blood, instead of scoring the 2 victory points for getting First Blood, you score a number of victory points equal to the difference in kill points at the end of the game. So if Mark took that and escalated his First Blood, and he killed 10 of my units, and I killed 7 of his units, he beats me by 3 there, so he can add 3 victory points to his secondary total. So that's useful. The one we've both chosen as we've escalated Slay the Warlord, which means that we can score a victory point for every enemy character we kill. Not independent character, but character. So that's squad sergeants, it's army leaders, all kinds of stuff, my demon princes, things like that. And if you escalate Line Breaker, then you score a victory point for every unit that ends in the enemy end zone. So if you get 4 units in the enemy end zone at the end of the game, you score an extra 4 VPs. The maximum you can score from any of those escalated is 4, so the secondary victory point total is 0 to 8. You score 2 for each of the secondary objectives, and a maximum of 4 from your escalated objective. Okay, again, quite complicated. I highly recommend you go and read the rules because it's quite an interesting set. And it's basically designed to help you when you're facing kind of like different armies. Say you've got a Screamer Star on one side and quite a balanced army on the other side. The Screamer Star will take the standard objective because it's good at it, but the balanced army has far more of a choice. If it takes the secondary objective style, where it has to score at the start of its turns, it gives it more of a chance versus the Screamer Star. So it's basically mission designed to try and nerf kind of like killer armies. Let's see what armies we've bought. Well, not nerf, but to give you more of a chance, isn't it?
Yeah, you're almost playing 2 separate games, aren't you? And it just means if you come up against, say, kill points against, or in this case, an objective mission, Curly with his flying monster creatures, we just keep him off the board until turn 5, 6 or 7 and come on and he can just contest all 4 and 5. We haven't really played a game and there's not a lot I could do to stop him, but now, because I can score from turn 2 onwards, he is forced to commit his forces to stop me. At the same time, he's still got to be aware that he does still need to get these turn 5 objectives, so it kind of means...
And it also really balances out the... For those of you who are watching the video who follow the tournament scene, so many of the top lists now are basically Death Star lists, aren't they?
Yeah.
You've got the Tau Ovessa Star, you've got Screamer Star, you've got Seer Council list, who basically at the end of the game, their big Death Star can split off into, say, 5 different fast-moving elements and go and contest every objective on the board, stopping the opponent from scoring them. This way, you'd have to contest them earlier in the game, so you'd have to split your star up. So it just gives... It helps out some of the more rounded armies against the more focused builds out there.
I guess it's probably worth putting a disclaimer on now. There will almost certainly be a lot of kind of tactical, anal kind of talk in this mission because it's obviously...
Yeah, this is a playtest mission for a tournament,
yeah.
So...
I imagine we'll analyse this one to death. So,
yeah, both Mark and I, even though we don't play many tournaments, we're both quite interested in the tournament scene. We listen to various of the tournament podcasts and we'd heard about them talking about this type of mission, so we thought we'd give it a try.
Yeah. And we like making new missions up ourselves anyway.
Yeah, you can see from the table that we've set up in a symmetrical style. So you can see there's a ruin in each half, there's a big tall spire in each half, there's a big line of sight blocking bit in the centre, and then a couple of bits of area terrain scattered around the board as well. But it's designed to be symmetrical, so it may not look the most interesting, but it's designed to be nice and fair. Let's see what armies Mark and I have brought today. Okay, so we're playing 1850 points today, and I have brought a monstrous creature flying circus demon list. So we are led by Fate Weaver there, and what powers did he get? Let's have a quick look. I've even made little cards, quite organised for today. So Fate Weaver's got Enfeeble, Puppet Master, Prescience and Fire Shield, so a good selection for Fate Weaver. So after him we have A to Z Demon Prince, the big winged one at the back. He's rolled up Enfeeble, Life Leech, Warp Speed, and he's got a Greater Ether Blade. I didn't roll well on my demonic gifts this game, and he's got the Portaglyph. We have a Nurgle Demon Prince who's in the HQ choice for the demons. He has got, I'm trying to read my own writing, he's got Hemorrhage, boo. He's got Warp Speed and Enfeeble, so I've got 3 Enfeebles on my 3 monstrous creatures there, should be very handy. He's got the Feel No Pain Greater Gift on a 4+, so that's pretty sweet. And he's got the Grimoire of True Names. So I am my 2 princes there. I have a big squad of 20 slash demonettes. Now, in a proper tournament list, probably 2 more units of pink horrors would be better, but I quite like the fact, because you'll see in a minute that I've also got Be'lakor. I've got lots of ways of enhancing a unit, so I thought having a big unit of close combat stuff would be quite nice, and I prefer the models, to be honest. So I have a big unit of 20 demonettes there, no upgrades at all. I have a unit of 11 pink horrors with no upgrades, and they're just taking the Primaris as each power. And then we move over to my Chaos Demon allies. We have a unit of 10 cultists, what a shock, I pay the tax. And then I have Be'lakor. I haven't actually got the Be'lakor model as yet, so we're using this nice pink demon print there. For those of you who don't know, Be'lakor is a data slate released by Games Workshop over Christmas. He is pretty powerful. He's lots of points, he's 350 points, he's a demon prince you can take in either army, but I had to take him in the Chaos Space Marine army, because if you take him in the demon army, his higher leadership forces you to not have Fate Weaver as your warlord. So he's in the Chaos Space Marine half. He knows every telepathy power, which is the main reason for taking him, making him super good. He's also got Eternal Warrior, he's level 3 Psyker, he's got a ridiculously good close combat weapon, he's got wings, he's always shrouded. The list does go on, he's very good. So got him, and obviously I'm playing Chaos Space Marines, I've got a Hell Drake. Let's see what Mark has. Mark's brought a far more rounded list.
Right there, guys, this is a bit of a hobby failure, but I'll go through the list anyway.
I've come to expect it, Mark.
Yeah, no, I do. I generally do quite well.
You've been getting better.
Yeah. Okay, so Ragnar Blackmane is going to be my count as Vulcan Hestan, leading my primary detachment, which is going to consist of 2 rhinos with 5-man tack squads in there. One has got a flamer, one's got a multi-melter. I have 2 squads of Legion down, both with trip melter. I have these. This is probably the worst bit. I have 3 Centurion Devastators. 2 of them have gone for the Grav Amps and Hurricane Bolters.
Somebody's cast invisibility on them.
Yeah, that's why you're not going to kill them. The Sergeant has Twin Las Cannon, Missile Launcher, and the Omniscope. I've also got a Storm Talon with the decent missiles. What they call the game?
Skyhammer missile.
Skyhammer missile. Thank you very much. I have 2 5-man scout squads. One's punchy, one's shooty, so that's bolters or close combat weapons. One's got a melter, one's got a flamer, and they're each in land speed of storms. One's got a multi-melter, one's got a heavy flamer, respectively. In addition to round me off, I have my 2 Thunderfire cannons. Then for my allied detachment, I've gone for this guy. Bjorn is counted as my Tigerius for today. He has a 5-man attack squad in a Rhino with a melter, and that is pretty much it. For Tigerius powers, I've got perfect timing, Scryer's gaze, and forewarning.
Okay, so this is our deployment. If I go down my side of the table, I'll quickly show you the deployment, then we'll have a quick discussion about it. So I've set my Tzeentch prince up over here. He's my least important prince. Just due to the powers he rolled up weren't particularly useful. And I wanted to stick something on this flank just so I could threaten over here if need be. So he's there. This is where most of my forces are. So Fate Weaver's set up. He's behind large line of sight blocking terrain. It kind of covers him from that building. And also the side of the terrain gives him good cover from over there as well. So he's reasonably out of sight in case Mark seizes. I've got first turn, by the way. I have my Nurgle Prince and Be'lakor, both of whom get shrouded. So they're both sitting in area terrain, so they've got a 3-up cover save at the very least if Mark does manage to take the initiative. And I've also set my Demonettes up here. On retrospect, as I say, the Pink Horrors would be a better choice. I'm interested to see how they're going to do, whether I can spare any of the psychic powers to buff them up. I've got a few psychic powers that I could cast on them, so I shall make the decision after Mark has attempted to seize. So that's my setup, very simple as it goes. I've got the Cultists, the Pink Horrors, and the Helldrake in reserve. So Mark, do you want to take us through your setup?
Yeah, so I've got my Ultramarines Rhino down here with a melter gun, Thunderfire cannon with a boosted runes here. I've got Vulcan in one of my other Rhinos in here. I've got my Devastator Centurions. I've got them essentially with...
Remember, folks, that's not Logan Grimnir, that's the Centurion Sergeant.
Yep, and this has got Tiggy. Reason being, I'm going to, as you can see, I can score from turn 2. So Centurions are going to guard these 3 objectives, and then I've got my 3 tack squads to hopefully try and score it. Finally, I've got my last tack squad, as said. I've got a bolstered Disc Ruins, and I have a Thunderfire cannon up here. So some of my thoughts are he doesn't have Scryer's Gaze, which means he struggles to keep his troops off.
Yep.
So I want my outflanking scouts, my Storm Talon, and my Legion of Damn. I've got a pretty good chance of doing some real damage to his 2 scoring units if they come on. That means he's only really got kind of the Portagif and obviously the Horrors which are deployed. So standard kind of game when you're playing an army list which is kind of this focus on killing, target troops and
kill the troops.
Out. That's what I'm going for. So.
Whereas you've got so many troops.
Yeah.
It's unlikely I should be able to kill them.
I mean, I've always been a fan of kind of tax spam since the Codex came out. Yeah, so it'll be interesting.
Whereas my tactical plan is basically attempt to kill a unit a turn with my massive monsters and roll Mark up before the end of the game.
Yeah, to be fair, you can do a lot of damage to me. I'm scared about how much damage you can do. I've got no counter assault realistically, no proper.
Although it's quite handy having so many. As a game we had a couple of months ago now. It's quite handy having so many little squads because it's a bit of a waste of a massive Demon Prince killing 5 tactical marines or 5 scouts. They're not really using their power to the best of their advantage.
But the difference is that time was 1 Demon Prince. Now you're talking about 4.
Yeah.
You've got 5 things. You can include the Helldrake, which will do so much damage to them.
Yeah, the Helldrake is a real star of the show.
Yeah, I mean.
I think you choosing Markham run the roll off and he chose to go second. It lets me cast my powers, but the fact that it lets him score objectives and contest objectives more importantly, but also it lets his flyer come on second as well. So if I jet my Helldrake forward, Mark can come fly over him and use the assault cannon in the rear of the Helldrake. Because the Storm Talon's got its nice 360-degree cannon mounted on the bottom of it. So, are you going to try and seize the initiative, Mark?
I want. My every instinct is telling me I should and shouldn't at the same time. It's really, really debatable, actually. I've got some real good shots on these guys, and they can do an awful lot of damage. I could probably put a couple of wins on there, but actually, likelihood is my grav cannons aren't going to get in range, are they? Or line of sight.
That's my hope.
So
I'd assumed you were going to set them up centrally, just due to the fact that they need to be set, because like my army can swap flanks so easily. If you'd have piled them all on one flank, I would have just taken the other flank instead.
I could probably get a las cannon and a grab into a Demon Prince. Is that worth doing? It's a Nurgle Prince.
He's the one with Feel No Pain, I'll remind you.
And he's got the book.
And he's got the book.
So put some wins on him is a pretty good idea. I'm going to roll because I'm unlikely to get it.
Okay, Mark is searching for the big dice we got out special. I'll point the camera over my shoulder. Probably an awful shot. Oh no, I did quite well.
Yep, you done well.
Okay, centre the table on a 6.
Yeah, I don't know if I want this to work, but
it's a 5. Takes the decision away from you.
Oh, good luck.
Good luck, my friend. we'll come back and we'll do a bit of tactical in-depth discussion, or as in-depth as we get at the end of each turn. Okay, Demon turn 1, not the most eventful. My Tzich Prince over here leapt forward and is hiding behind the big tower. He has not thrown out his portaglyph as yet. In the centre of the board, I cast a few powers. So the Nurgle Prince used the Grimoire of True Names and gave Fate Weaver a 2-up rerollable invulnerable save. Fate Weaver cast Fire Shield on Be'lakor, who has moved forward. So Be'lakor, Fire Shield gives him a 4-up cover save and lets him reflect wounds. No, it's not the reflect wounds, it just gives him a 4-up cover save. But because he's shrouded, that gives him a 2-up cover save, so that's quite useful. Then the Be'lakor cast Invisibility on the Demonettes, so that's given them +3 to their cover saves. So it's kind of like a big sharing of psychic powers going on in the centre. Everything moved forward, as you can see. All the Demon Princes jumped forward. I felt on this board there, Mark had enough long-range firepower that if I tried to stay back and play cagey, then he'd just end up shooting me off the table and his reserves could come on and do quite some damage. So I think trying to get into him and killing his threats early game is my best game plan. I moved forward and tried some shooting attacks. Be'lakor attempted to puppet master the Thunderfire Cannon hiding up there. Unfortunately, Mark managed to deny the Witch. So he made his 6-up deny the Witch, but then Mark failed 3 deny the Witches with Tigerius in the centre of the board, but to no avail, it did nothing. Fate Weaver fired a couple of the Tzich shooting attacks into the unit, but they had no effect either. Didn't roll to wound well enough, or Mark made his saves. And I fired the Hemorrhage from the Demon Prince. Mark made his toughness check, and Be'lakor tried a Psychic Screech. But what happened with that?
Psychic Screech.
Well, no, I didn't use Psychic Screech. I used Puppet Master instead.
Yeah, sorry.
I was going to Psychic Screech, then I decided Puppet Master would be
Invisibility,
a little more useful. So, not a whole lot happened. Let's see what Mark does his turn 1.
Right then, guys, this is the end of my first turn. Obviously, probably not the best of turns, really, but obviously no better than what could be expected. So, essentially, my plan was to move these guys up and kind of box my Centurions in, because I think they've got quite a lot of firepower. However, I was among and fired their Stormbolters, so slightly messed my own self up. But basically what I was trying to do is just trying to at least ground this Nurgle Demon Prince before my Centurions fired. Wasn't able to do so, and they fired in anyway. I did manage to do 2 wounds, but he made 1 invulnerable and 1 feel no pain. Basically all else that happened, the 2 Thunderfire Cannons and a little bit of focus fire shooting from this guy fired into Demonettes. I killed about, what, 4 maybe?
Yeah, I think I can tell you exactly 4.
Exactly 4. So I've killed 4 Demonettes. So that is all I've managed to do with my entire turn so far. So yeah, interesting.
Shall we roll my reserves?
Yeah, can do. There you go. Live action rolls.
So, first of all, we have the Helldrake. The Helldrake is on, which is one I wanted on. Now, these 2 I don't want on. So, we have the Cultists are not on.
Damn
Perfect.
it.
That's what I really wanted. And the Pink Horrors. Excellent.
Oh, you lucky git.
Who needs, what's it called, Scryer's Gate? Okay, end of Demons turn 2. So the princes started moving in for the attack this turn. The prince over here kept hold of his portaglyph, hoping he's going to survive this round. It's a bit of a gamble, but I really didn't want to put my portaglyph down before Mark's reserves had a chance to come on, because I ideally want to put it down somewhere where he's not going to be able to hit them. He went to the floor and he cast Life Leech and managed to kill the Thunderfire Cannon, because I got behind the Tech Marine, so that was him taken care of, but he is now flying on the ground.
Flying on the ground.
Yeah, well, swooping or whatever it's called. What's your name? Be'lakor went to ground, and I was sitting there at the start of the turn thinking of lots of different tricks I could use to try and not get Overwatch, and then Mark kindly reminded me that the Centurions are slow and purposeful, thus don't get to Overwatch. So Be'lakor just walked into them. The combat went on. Mark refused the challenge I issued, so I put Tigris at the back of the unit, and then I smashed, but because Mark had cast 4-up invulnerable power last turn, I only managed to kill 1 of the Centurions, so I'm still locked in combat. Ideally, I'd like to kill all of them next turn so I get to move the turn after, but I suspect Mark is hoping to last another round or so in there with that unit. Fate Weaver and the Nurgle Prince decided to bounce over and Vector Strike a Rhino. I didn't want them to come to ground as yet. Unfortunately, their Vector Strikes were pretty impotent and didn't manage to hurt the Rhino. Fate Weaver cast Fire Shield on the Nurgle Prince, giving him a 2-up cover save, and the Nurgle Prince used the book on Fate Weaver, giving him a 2-up rerollable invulnerable save. A lot of shared love going on. Be'lakor also cast Invisibility on the Demonettes again this turn. My Helldrake came on, and Mark had very cleverly posted all of his stuff at the back of the army, and I hadn't managed to pop any of his rhinos. And to be honest, I didn't want to pop some of his rhinos because he gets to score VPs at the start of his next turn if he has any troops on objectives. So you can see he's got troops in rhinos on all of his objectives, other than that one over there, and I didn't manage to pop any of his rhinos. So the Helldrake fired his flame up at the Thunderfire cannon, attempting to hurt it, but failed to do anything. The Demonettes have rolled 2 twice, even with their reroll on their run moves, so they haven't really got over to this side of the table very well as yet. My 2 reserves not coming on was the best point of the turn, though. Okay, let's see what Mark does turn 3. Do you want to roll for your reserves, Mark?
It's probably 2 minutes. Probably not within
Okie dokie, we'll have to tell you, see if we can remember next turn.
Right then, this is the end of my turn 2, and unfortunately not the most spacious of turns. Unfortunately, even with Squire's Gaze up, both my scouts came in, which I tried to avoid, which forced me to have to keep one of my Legion Down squads off. And I've also, my Storm Town did come on and I wanted it to. Right, so down this corner, these are my Ultramarine guys. They got out, they used their Doctrine for rerolls to hit. I managed to deal 1 wound to this guy. Not great, not bad. Down here is probably the only high point of my turn. My Sergeant challenged Bellacore, and he made me take 2 saves and made both my 4-ups because I've got the forewarning on, which was good. Down here, these guys got out to try and score that objective, and they did a few wounds, and also the Heavy Flamer from the Flamer from Vulcan's squad and the Thunderfire cannon killed probably just over half a dozen of the Demonettes. So there's exactly 8 left by the looks of it. So reasonable there. Unfortunately, this is where things went a bit Pete Tong. So Storm Talon, 2 Twin Link Melters, 3 Twin Link Melters, all into the Helldrake. I've done a grand total of 1 whole point. So that's where things have gone kind of badly for me. So that is the end of my turn 2.
Okay, so Demons of Chaos Space Marines, turn 3. Another good one for myself. My dice gods are really smiling on me as both my Pink Horrors and my Cultists stayed off the table for another turn. It really does force Mark, who'd gone into heavy reserves so he could kill my troops, really forces him right into the corner. He's going to have to bring on his other stuff likely next turn, and then I get to deploy in response to that. So it's a really critical rolls. My monsters continue to roam around the board killing stuff. The Warp Storm table did 4 wounds. It was the Nurgle hates people power. It did 4 wounds and killed 4 Space Marines of the squad down there, and then my Demon Prince was on the ground and he hemorrhaged the last Space Marine and gained back the wound he lost last turn. Fate Weaver flew over here to deal with the troop choice sitting here, which is going to score a point at the start of Mark's turn. I fired 2 powers at the land speeder, unfortunately failed to cast one of them and only got 1 glancing hit with the other after Mark had made his jinx save, so wasn't as good as I'd hoped. But the Vector Strike from the Helldrake, which is just so good. He flew over the Rhino containing Vulcan, which was down there, managed to get it to explode, which is really nice. He then breathed fire backward, managed to hit all 6 members of that squad and 3 members of the other squad that was behind it. He killed the 3 members of the rear squad, and that took them off the objective for the start of Mark's turn. And I managed to kill 3 members of the front squad and put a wound onto Vulcan, which was really nice. The Demon Prince, who had then jumped over from the back, he has got Fire Shield casting him again from Fate Weaver. He challenged Vulcan in combat, who accepted. He then killed Vulcan with a smash. The squad stayed there in combat. Bellacore, who is still locked in combat, he finally managed to beat up the Centurion Sergeant, so next turn he'll be able to move on to Tiggy. He cast Horrify on the Thunderfire cannon up there, and Protect Marine failed his leadership test, so he's run down 2 levels, which is quite nice. And he also cast Invisibility on the Demonettes again. The Demonettes sprinted sideways and have taken out the land speeder in close combat, and the scouts who got out the back have failed their pinning check. So all round, a pretty good turn, but the main thing was my reserves stayed off the board. Let's see what Mark can do to respond.
Right then, guys, this is the end of my turn 4, isn't it? Or turn 3?
Turn 3.
Turn 3. End of my turn 3. Okay, so obviously still not going particularly great, but I went... Oh, we haven't done this combat here, Curls.
Oh, yeah, let's see.
So do you want to do a live action?
Okay, we'll do a quick live action turn as a Demon Prince with Warp Speed beats up 2 Tactical Marines.
Bum, bum, bum.
What could happen?
This isn't the most exciting combat in the world, but...
1, 2... Only 3 hits. If I roll 2 1s on these dice, you're still alive. No, you don't.
No, okay, so he's killed them down here. Right, anyway, okay. So where was he? Down here, as you know, these guys got pinned. So all I managed to do was the pretty much just a Legion of Damned, fired into the Demonettes. Because they got ignore cover, they really... Sorry, getting shadow in there. So ignore cover is pretty good, and then they managed to charge in and beat them up in assault. A combination of I rolled really well to hit, and Kenny Mail failed his saves, and on his Legion test, he rolled a 10, so that kind of the warp thing, whatever it's called, demonic instability, killed them all off. Storm Talons just moved centrally. He tried to take a pot shot at Helldrake, but still did a fool. This guy's just moving across. I do have one tack marine just hiding down here who's currently scoring on objective. I put a little bit of incremental fire, I think, into Helldrake. I shot in the arse, still did nothing. And I think I tried to shoot Fate with a couple of times, did nothing. I still got my scouts hiding down there. I've kind of moved around a little bit more around the cover. And I turbo boost my last speed storm down here just because obviously he's quite a big threat to his troops, which have to come on now at least.
Yeah.
So, and the other thing is I've still got my one Legion of Damn squad to stayed in reserve, which is useful. So that is the end of my turn.
Okay, Demons turn 4. Unfortunately, my 2 reserves had to come on this turn, and it went a little wrong. My pink horrors came down about there-ish, and they scattered 12 inches sideways. So that meant I had to roll on the warped, Deep Strike mishap table. I rolled a 2, meaning Mark got to place him. It was quite important to put them over here because Mark had no troops on this area, or no units on this area of the board. So I really wanted my horrors over here for protection. So I used Fate Weaver's reroll to place them over here, and unfortunately rolled another 2. So Mark plonked them down over here. So he's got his Legion of the Damned there, and he's got some other stuff around and about also. So then what happened? The cultist came on over here. They've moved on, and in their shooting phase, they managed to kill one of the scouts on the ground floor. The Helldrake swooped on over here and killed the 2 scouts on the upper floor, and Mark passed his leadership test this turn. Over here, Be'lakor had cast invisibility on the flying Demon Prince, who was taken to the air. And he managed to smash his last Centurion in combat, and he's hopped onto cover to give himself a better invulnerable save. Unfortunately, using Fate Weaver's reroll on the Scatter meant I couldn't use it on the Grimoire, and the Grimoire bearer over there tried to enchant Fate Weaver, but has given him -1 invulnerable save this turn. Fate Weaver has taken to the air. He went up here, he cast Flickering Fire and Puppet Master on the Storm Talon. He's a Storm Talon's Assault Cannon to kill the heavy flamer land speeder storm that was down here, which is quite important because that would be obviously very threatening to my poor little cultists over there. The Flickering Fire failed to hurt the Storm Talon, so I had to life leech it with this Flying Demon Prince here. Unfortunately, that failed to hurt it as well, so the Storm Talon has got free reign, and I suspect my poor cultists are in trouble. Due to the way the mission's scoring, Mark has already scored 1 VP for having his unit down here at the start of his last turn, and he's going to score another one this turn. That's the only one he's got on the board, but I only have that troop choice over there, and this troop choice down here, and this one is not looking favourite at this time. So that's Fate Weaver done, that guy there. This guy had an attack of the failing psychic power test. He knew he needed to tie up the Legion of the Damned this turn so that it protected the pink horrors that Mark had put down near them. He decided to enfeeble the Legion, but failed and perilled himself, losing a wound. And then he cast Walk Speed on himself, but failed to cast it again, which wasn't good. So he's charged in anyway, and he challenged the Legion Sergeant to try and tie up combat a bit longer, and they're just locked in combat and neither managed to do any wounds. Prior to that, the pink horrors had attempted to shoot the Legion of the Damned, but I failed another Leadership 10 test to cast a psychic power, which was pretty frustrating. Due to Mark's placement, though, I have managed to contest that objective, so he's not scoring a point for his single tactical marine who is still hiding inside that building. Anything else I've forgotten, Mark? I don't think so.
No,
but it was a bit of a turny turn. Mark was looking bad at the start of that turn. That has helped. It's still probably, I'm still in the ascendancy, but Mark is looking a lot better than he was.
I've got a chance now.
Yeah, certainly. His Legion of the Damned is to come on, and they can obviously position quite nicely. Okay, let's see what he does.
Right, so this was the end of my turn 4. So after Curly had certainly a turn for the worst last turn, so I really had a chance to kind of seize the initiative a little bit. And I think I did a reasonable job of doing so.
Oh, I think you did.
Legion of Damned came down here. They needed to use their reroll, but they managed to get on a decent enough shot. That combined with the flame I still had left on the scouts managed to do a hell of a lot of damage to cultists. Unfortunately, they managed to hold past the leadership test, and in combat I killed his sergeant, but he's killed one of mine. So overall, not too bad, and at least I'm still tied up down there. The sometimes flown off the board. Just want to keep that in as a mobile reserve. Down here, I used my Rhino to tank shot these guys into a bit more of a flamer formation. My heavy flamer fired in, but Kelly rolled really well in his save, but I still managed to kill. We're charging into combat with them, and with a bit of sheet from these guys, still managed to do quite a reasonable number on them, but they're still sticking about. So you've got a chance to kind of pull them out of combat if need be. Down here in the combat, his Flying Demon Prince of Doom did kill one of the Legion of the Damned. So, reasonable. I've got a chance, I now say. So, certainly the game's in the bag. We'll
So
see.
I've got to get an objective. It doesn't really matter. I don't think you're going to get another 3 points this game. You can't really.
Yeah.
Because only next turn and you're not scoring any more next turn. So basically, if I am on an objective at the end of the game, I have won at this point.
That's it, yeah.
So it's UV my troops, basically. And let's face it, my troops consist of 2 cultists, 5 of those, and a portaglyph.
Yeah. And every one of your troops is in close combat for better or for worse. Right. See you next turn, guys.
Okay, it is Chaos turn 5. It could be my last turn of the game. So how have I done? Not bad. A few things went my way this turn. Firstly, the Helldrake flew off the board because Mark's got his Storm Talon off. I want him to be able to come on and respond just in case. My Demon Princes all converge down here where the fight is going down. My large Winged Demon Prince flew down there. He needed a 7-inch charge to get in combat with the Tech Marine. I'd be going through cover, but I managed to cast Warp Speed to give me fleet. Unfortunately, I got a double 2 and a 4, even with the rerolls, so couldn't quite get to combat. But I had triple enfeebled the Tech Marine, so he's down to toughness 1, and I managed to get 2 hits on him and 2 wounds with the Pink Horrors, but he managed to pass his saves. But also, on the Warp Storm table this turn, I'd rolled the 10 to give me +1 invulnerable save, and the green winged guy there had used the book on the Pink Horrors, giving them a 2-up re-rollable invulnerable save, so they were pretty safe in against the Tech Marine, so we're still locked in combat with that remaining troop choice there. Fate Weaver swooped down. He cast Puppet Master and Flickering Fire on the scouts over there. He killed 3 of them with the Flickering Fire and forced one of them to shoot the last remaining Tactical Marine. If I can get eyes on, you can see his shadow there, who is inside that building, who'll be contesting that objective even if I beat up the Tech Marine. But he managed to not wound with his Puppet Mastered gun. Over here, Be'lakor managed to take out the Rhino, and I lobbed my Portaglyph finally, as Mark's Legion of the Damned to come on. I'd been waiting all game, not wanting to throw down the Portaglyph, just in case he came on Legion of the Damned it. So I lobbed the Portaglyph on top of this hill here. It scatters backwards to there, and then I rolled 6 on how many got out. So 6 Pink Horrors have got out, and they have run, and they are on this objective. So these are my scoring unit. So Mark can no longer score points for objectives, and he has scored 1 this game. But if he kills my troop choice this turn, and the game ends, he wins. So could be bad for me. Let's see what happens.
Right, so this is the end of my turn 5 and possibly the end of the game. Obviously, the Storm Talon had to come on, but unfortunately, with the +1 invulnerable save that Curdy had last turn, it made it practically impossible to deal much damage. So I'm just trying my best here. So Storm Talon fired down here, and I managed to kill 1, but that was about it. This guy tried to fire in. Down here, I charged my Tax Marine into close combat, but he obviously made his saves and he hasn't managed to kill me. I've lost both my Legion of Damned, and he's now consolidated out of combat. These guys have gone to ground, and these guys are too far away at the moment to be effective. So at the moment, the scores on the doors, I have 2 points for the sort of accumulation of objectives. Currently, he is scoring this 1 objective down here. So on a roll of standard game ends on 1 or 2, game's ended, and he wins. It's a 4, game continues.
Okay, it is Demon's turn 6. So the Helldrake came on this turn, and he vector struck the Legion of the Damned. It didn't really do anything. Mark was doing good saves. Over here, though, Be'lakor took to the sky. He flew over the Storm Talon, vector striking it, didn't hurt it. But then he cast Puppet Master on it and got it to blow up the Rhino that was down there. Fate Weaver had taken to the air and declared he would use Skyfire, and he shot down the Storm Talon. That was kind of the final nail in Mark's coffin, because I'd spawned another 5 Horrors out of my Portaglyph. I'd also used the Grimoire True Names on the Horrors down here to give them a 3-up invulnerable save. Over in the combat there, 2 of my Demon Princes swept in and managed to kill both the Tech Marine and the Tactical Marine. So at that point, Mark has got his stuff left over there with the Legion of the Damned looking pretty much untouched as usual, but he's not going to win at this point because I control 2 objectives.
Yeah, I've got to shoot 3 units off the board with 3 units. So.
Yeah, so it's not going to happen. So the game is over. So Mark, what did we think of the special ulterior mission?
I thought it was really interesting, actually. I definitely think it makes the game a better game.
I do as well, because let's have a quick discussion about what would happen if we were playing the same mission. At this point, you could have easily won last turn.
Yep.
If I'd have failed to spawn something from my Portaglyph and the game had ended, you'd have won. If you'd have managed to shoot slightly better against my Horrors, or if I hadn't spawned as many Horrors, you'd have won. Whereas if we were playing the normal game, I could have easily killed all your troops before then, because all you had left was 1 troop there and 2 over there who weren't even on objective. Okay, they could have been on objectives, but I had my 4 Demon Princes, they could have easily killed them, where the game was still pretty much live at that point.
Yeah, it definitely I always felt like the game was flowing quite nicely. I mean, if I just scored like 1 or maybe 2 points more earlier,
2 more points and I'd have been screwed.
yeah, I could have really made a difference. So possibly I needed to think about more scoring, but you just, I think my list was slightly, it was almost not quite tack enough, if that makes sense.
Possibly, yeah.
It just didn't quite mesh perfectly because the list was originally meant to have 4 squads of scouts and speed of storms and stuff like that, and then extra storms talent.
And we altered it slightly just so it was a bit more.
Yeah, more traditional.
Yeah, more traditional, so we could make a better fist of testing out the mission.
Where I probably would have been better shout going for large amount of attack squads, and also sort of on list. I think I really felt that I didn't have any kind of post combat threat, which I think can make a big difference against this kind of list. So it made it very, very difficult.
I don't know how it affected you, but I felt that because usually in the reverse of this mission, when you're playing, you can score points for controlling objectives at the start of the turn. You would try and control 3 of them at the start of your second turn, but I felt that you were keeping in your rhinos, which I think was a good decision. So it would delay my princes hurting them for an extra turn. But do you think maybe getting out of your rhinos and scoring those early points would have helped? Because you could have got the points for being controlled second turn, possibly, depending on what I assaulted.
I think no, because what I really needed to do is I needed to do more damage to you early on. I just did virtually nothing with my firepower. I wanted, by keeping my troops in my rhinos, they always had a position to score. And you have to go for the metal box, and hopefully that gives me the opportunity to refer strike.
Yeah.
And also it means that if you do assault, say, a rhino, because you haven't got much shooting, you're on the ground, I've got more of a chance of killing you, do some damage to you. And that's kind of my mindset, really, because at the end of the day, yes, I could have potentially tried to get 3 points to start my turn, but ultimately that probably would have lost all 3 of my troops without fail. You would have just assaulted 3 of them, and that's me almost out of the game at that point straight away.
I must say, this is the first time I've run a flying circus list, and just the options you have with them, it's just phenomenal. I mean, I think having Bellacore and Fate Weaver, initially I was a little annoyed at the powers I'd got because I got no iron arms, because basically I was just thinking iron arm. But the fact that I got the fire shield on Fate Weaver, really helpful, because I had 2 princes that were always shrouded, Bellacore and the Nurgle Prince. So you cast fire shield, that gives them a 2-up invulnerable, 2-up cover save. I've got the book to give somebody else a 2-up save. And then I've got invisibility from Bellacore, so I can basically give 3 of my flying monsters a 2-up save. And that just makes them, they're in the air, they're pretty much invulnerable at that point.
Well, that's it. I mean, I definitely feel I should have more anti-air. I probably would have normally had a second Storm Talon, which I think would make such a huge difference.
Yeah, I think the Storm Talon was, again, I think the thing that I thought about most. It was the most dangerous piece on the board.
Time and time again.
Yeah, the Legion, I put down my Portaglyph with 1 turn to spare. If I'd have failed to spawn, I could have lost the game that turn.
Yeah.
But it's because I had to, because if I'd have put it down earlier, the Legion of the Damned would have deployed there due to you using Scryer's Gaze to delay them off the board, and you would have counter-deployed to it, killed it, and then killed the troops in combat the next turn.
I mean, I think that was probably the biggest thing, was how long you've got to keep the troops off the board.
I think so as well.
Not me being able to not get them until turn 4 was just, it just cost me an awful lot.
I think I failed my scatter down here with the Pink Horrors. If I'd have made that, I think the game would have been over earlier than that, because I could have easily protected them over here.
Yeah.
Whereas putting them over there kind of like brought the game back to life a bit, didn't it?
Yeah.
But me failing that scatter was, it was just my luck rebounding on me, because I'd kept them off for 2 turns without using any Scryer's Gaze.
I mean, you had the slight advantage is then you managed to roll the extra invulnerable save, and you had to book on them, so you got the 2+.
That's it. I mean, Fate Weaver all game. I mean, obviously everybody knows how good he is, but that one reroll, I mean, I'd happily pay his 300 points just for his reroll. It's
incredible. I mean, you fail Grimwald, reroll it.
Yeah, it's good in all armies, but in the Demon army, you've got so many kind of like one-off rolls that do stuff. If you don't take him, you really are just you're just in trouble.
Incredible. He just adds so much versatility. He's got the psychic powers.
Yeah, he's floated around the board, killing stuff every turn.
Yeah. I just had because obviously quite quickly I realised that I'm basically going to get beaten to a pulp. I mean, this is what the game. Your list is designed to beat people up.
Yeah.
And I'm designed to score objectives, so you're always going to win the fight.
Exactly, yeah, and this was the reason we chose these 2 armies. I mean, in a friendly game, we wouldn't necessarily take these 2 armies. As I say, I don't play the Flying Prince, but we really wanted to test out the mission to see what a really focused tournament-style army would do versus a more take-all-comers army, and I think the mission certainly made it much more of a game than it would have been otherwise.
Yeah, it was still very enjoyable. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, I was still in it. I mean, it didn't look like it, you know, the amount of casualties and stuff I was taking, but actually,
yeah, a couple of rolls. certainly if you'd have broken my pink horrors over there with your tech marine,
I
the
think
first combat,
realistically, I had a real good chance of taking these out.
I think you did as well. I mean, you flamed them, and I think you got 8 wounds on them, and I passed 6 of my saves.
Yeah, on the 5s up.
And then you charged in, and you got 4 power fist attacks on me, did 4 wounds, and I made 3 of my saves. So you can't really. I think I certainly had better luck today than you did.
Yeah, I don't often like to bitch about luck, but I would say, yeah, I think we're even enough on ability wise, pretty even army list wise, pretty even the way we're trying to play the game. So it probably is. Sometimes it does come down.
Yeah,
to luck.
but we are playing a dice game. There is luck involved.
You can't expect it not to be. I mean,
But it was still close. That's the thing. I could have easily lost turn 5. So
yeah, I mean, we said how close this combat could have potentially been. I mean, you only had like 4 guys left.
Yeah, and they're pink horrors. I mean, they shouldn't be even drawing combat of anybody.
And these guys are spawned units. I mean, this could have scattered anywhere. It could have gone over here.
Exactly.
Could have got you stuck in terrain. You're on objectives.
That's it. Due to me having to delay laying that, I was really worried. I mean, luckily on this table, because we got so many objectives on the board, it was similar when you relocated my horrors. Wherever you put them, I could have run and then run again and got to an objective.
Yeah.
And similarly, we're putting down the portcullis. Wherever it's scattered, I was reasonably confident that I'd be able to get to an objective, certainly in 2 turns.
But that's it. And also, at the end of the day, it's the 4 pluses, isn't it, to bring them on. So there's always that. Yeah. There's always the chance it
that's it. Even with your Fate Weaver reroll, which I'd saved for that, you can easily fail that 4+.
Yeah, I don't think you had to at one point. You failed the grim roll. These guys, you had to do.
I did, yeah.
So you didn't always. I think both times, in fact, for whatever reason, you didn't have the reroll saved. So it could have been. It really could have. It did come down to wire. It just doesn't necessarily look like that.
But that's the idea of the mission, isn't it? It's supposed to take a list that is designed to smash people, which the list I've taken today is, versus a list that's more resilient and more flexible, which is your list, and give it a chance to succeed, which it had today.
Because if I was playing. If we were playing our 2 lists naturally, you would have spent most of the game flying off the board. I would have spent most of the game hiding.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I'm relying on my ability, and actually would have been a less enjoyable game because of it.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, flying my Demon Princes off the board and then on again each turn and hiding behind bits of terrain and such is not a fun game.
Yeah.
But I knew I had to attack you. I had to stop you scoring those 3 objectives turn 1.
And by the same token, I knew I couldn't wait. I can do because similar. I'm a mobile army. Everything's in rhinos. Hiding boxes,
you got the 2 scouts,
and that's it. So I've got good at contesting, releasing down and stuff like that. So I could have played a similar style game, but it's just not 40k, is it?
No, that's it.
It's something else. It's less enjoyable. So.
Well, I certainly give a thumbs up to the asymmetrical mission.
Yes.
As I say, guys, I'm going to stick a link somewhere. I might even try and do one of those YouTubey things and make it appear at the bottom here where my finger is, but I'll probably fail that. So it'll be in the blurb underneath the video.
It'll definitely be somewhere.
Yeah. So click on that link, go and have a read. It's a really interesting post I'll link to, and there's various other missions up for playtesting, and the people who are doing it are encouraging feedback, which we're going to obviously send them a link to this video as feedback. And anybody else who wants to do a battle report with an asymmetrical mission, they'll welcome all the different feedback they get because they're just trying to make the game better. I mean, Games Workshop releases all this stuff, and somebody needs to kind of take charge and try and balance the game, and I think they're doing a really good idea. I don't think I don't like the idea of comping armies because whenever you do a comp on anything, you're just setting a new best level. Yeah, exactly. So I think intelligent mission design is certainly the way to go.
And also, at the end of the day, there's not enough players in 40k to start alienating those. I mean, people could have spent, I don't know how much Screamer Star cost, but say 300 quid on Screamer Star. Yeah. Could have spent many hours painting it, and to tell them, oh, sorry, your army's crap.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, we're banning Grimoire True Names. Well, that's that army gone.
And you're like, why, we shouldn't be trying to alienate these people.
Yeah, that's it.
I mean, as much as we could say, if there is a way to, change it to a 2+ followed by a 4+ reroll, or possibly, but you got to be really, really careful about what you do. So I can see what the guys are doing by making it this way instead, because against any kind of list, I feel like you've got a chance if you're taking a decent kind of tack list.
That's it.
Which is what, if I knew that, I would field more tack. I probably would have only taken 1 scout speeders, had more tactical squads, and maybe gone for kind of a counter combat threat, so fun hand Terminators or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, we said early on, didn't we, that if you had got the Chapter Master, the beefy Eternal Warrior Chapter Master in the list, it would have made a big difference, because I felt when I just sent all 4 of my princes, including Fate Weaver, forward turn 1, and I wasn't scared. I was just like, I need to get to combat. There's nothing in your army that can hurt me in combat, so just get there as soon as possible. Stop you scoring the objectives.
Yeah, I think I think this list possibly does need the Chapter Master just because he's so good.
He's so good.
There's just so much he can do. In my list, he's got a mastercrafted whatever weapon he's got.
Yeah,
so
Thunderhammer.
It's always useful.
Pretty sweet. Okay, well, thanks for watching, everyone. And as I say, do go and read the post and check out the new missions that are going to be put up. Thanks for watching. Thanks for the game, Mark.
Cheers.